Tuesday, August 4th, the White House holds a closed-door meeting. OpenAI, Anthropic, and Alphabet send their top people, and they walk in lobbying for one thing: government restrictions on Chinese AI. They lost. The Trump administration ruled that Chinese open-weight AI models will not face government safety testing. That ruling blew the door wide open for Chinese AI to compete directly in the US market. And traders are still pricing those names like the assumptions underneath them never died. If you're holding AI names and you don't understand what actually happened in that room, you're going to be on the wrong side of this. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why OpenAI and Anthropic lobbied for those restrictions and what it tells you about their business model. You'll know what the White House decided and which names it structurally damages. You'll know which stocks survive every scenario Morgan Stanley laid out, including the one hyperscaler that wins when Google and Amazon don't. And you'll know why the safety argument for closed models doesn't hold either, because that's the last moat. And it was already gone months before anyone walked into that room. The companies walking in, OpenAI, Anthropic, Alphabet, framed the whole argument around safety. Chinese AI is dangerous. Chinese open-weight models can't be trusted. The government needs to step in. That sounds reasonable. It also is extremely convenient. Think about what OpenAI actually sells: closed models, API access, subscriptions. Anthropic sells Claude, same structure, same pricing, both gated, both proprietary, both charging per token. If the government tests and restricts Chinese open-weight models, who benefits directly? The closed model companies that just lobbied for those restrictions. That's not a coincidence. That's a business strategy wearing a safety argument in disguise. They were trying to use the US government as a competitive barrier against a cheaper alternative already eating into their market share. Not protecting the public, protecting their pricing. And the Trump administration said no. The ruling is explicit: no restrictions, no required testing framework, no regulatory advantage handed to the companies that lobbied for one. They played the safety card, they lost the hand. And the moat they were counting on doesn't exist. If you're holding AI exposure, look at the business model underneath it, not the story, the model. And the model is this: premium per token pricing only works if something keeps the cheaper alternative out. Nothing does anymore. But here's what most people are about to get wrong. They're going to treat this like a future risk, something to monitor. The threat from Chinese open-weight AI isn't coming. It's already in the data, and the numbers are bigger than you think. When people talk about Chinese AI competing with US companies, they frame it as a horizon risk, something on the roadmap. It's not on the roadmap. It's in the numbers. First half of 2025, Chinese models were 4.5% of US traffic on OpenRouter. Over the next 12 months, 11%. Then in February, it crossed 30. And it is not close to a single week below 30 cents. By mid-year, it hit 46. OpenRouter tracks real API traffic, not surveys, not projections, actual routing decisions, actual companies, actual money. That's while OpenAI and Anthropic were in Washington, arguing those models were too dangerous to compete freely. Then in July, Kimi K3, the first open-weight model to hit frontier level. And on several coding and agentic benchmarks, it doesn't just match the closed models. It beats them. First place in front-end code arena. The performance gap that justified premium pricing, that just closed. And when performance parity hits, pricing takes over. Researchers at MIT and Georgia Tech put a number on it. Moving demand to open models could cut average AI spending more than 70%. Call it $25 billion a year. Shopify's machine learning put it even plainer. Per token charges aren't sustainable when you're running billions of multi-model inferences a day. So here's where we actually are. The regulatory protection these companies lobbied for, denied. The performance gap that justified premium pricing, closed. And the routing has already moved. This isn't a thesis. It's in the data. So which stocks do you hold? Which do you rethink? And which one is going to surprise you? Morgan Stanley built a 3-scenario framework for exactly this question. And one of the answers is going to surprise you. Morgan Stanley just modeled this. 3 scenarios for how this plays out. And each one points at a different set of stocks. Here's where you land on each. Scenario 1, closed models stay dominant. The frontier labs hold their lead. Closed APIs stay the enterprise default. Google and Amazon win. Their whole AI build-out is designed for exactly that world. Scenario 2, hybrid. Both coexist. Enterprises mix and match. No clear winner. That's the boring one. Scenario 3 is the one that changes everything. Open weight dominance. Parity is real. Price pressure is real. Enterprises move at scale. This is the Kimi K3 world. And here, Google and Amazon are exposed. And Morgan Stanley put a number on it. If Gemini gets back to the frontier, Google earns about 45% on the capital it puts into running model APIs. If it doesn't, Google is just an infrastructure provider, and that falls to 30%. Same company, same data centers, a third of the return, gone. In the same day as that ruling, this landed. Demis Hassabis is stepping aside as CEO of Google DeepMind, moving to chairman. Jeff Dean, Google's chief scientist, is leaving outright after 27 years to start his own company. Alphabet dropped about 4% on that news. Here's the verdict. NVIDIA wins in every single scenario. Closed dominant, hybrid, or open weight dominant. NVIDIA is the infrastructure arms dealer. Every model, open or closed, needs chips to train and chips to run. NVIDIA wins all three. The surprise is Microsoft. In scenario 3, open weight dominance, Morgan Stanley names exactly one major cloud provider as a winner. Not Google, not Amazon, Microsoft. Azure is built to run whatever model you bring to it. That's the whole reason. If you're holding Google or Amazon expecting open weight to dominate, that's the wrong position. Those are scenario 1 names. In the Kimi K3 world, they compress. Now you might be thinking, okay, but the safety argument still stands, right? Regulation didn't pass. But open weight models are still harder to control. That safety premium still has to be worth something. I thought so too, until I saw what happened with Heretic. After the regulatory moat fell, one argument was still standing: safety. The idea that closed models are safer because the weights aren't public. Nobody can fine-tune them into doing things they're not supposed to do. That's the last moat, the one that still justifies the premium. Back in May, the Financial Times ran a test with an AI safety group. They used a free tool called Heretic, sitting on GitHub, available to anyone, and stripped the safety guardrails off Meta's Llama and Google's Gemma on a standard laptop in under 10 minutes, not hours, minutes. And it's been used to build over 3,000 modified models since. That's the safety moat, gone. The idea that a closed model is inherently safer because the weights aren't public, that's not a technical reality. It's a policy fiction. And here's why that timing matters. When OpenAI, Anthropic, and Alphabet walked into that room on August 4th and argued Chinese models were too dangerous to compete freely, the tool that makes that argument meaningless had been public for 2.5 months. They knew. They weren't defending a safety position. They were defending a price. One piece of software took the safety argument. One government ruling took the regulatory one. And the entire foundation under those valuations, gone. So here's your answer, the one you came for, NVIDIA, because it doesn't need a moat. It's the infrastructure, period. And Microsoft, because it's the one major cloud provider built to win if open weight models take over. Not despite this ruling, but because of it. Google and Amazon are exposed, not because they're bad businesses, because their AI positioning was built on a world where closed models stay dominant and safety restrictions stay in place. That world is over. And the safety argument, the last reason to pay a premium for closed models, that's not a technical argument anymore. Heretic made it a marketing argument. You can't charge for a wall that anyone can walk through in minutes. You came in asking which stocks survived this. Now you know. Both moats, neither one standing. That's not a risk to monitor. That's a position to reconsider now. You've got the framework, you've got the names. The next step isn't understanding. It's executing with precision. You now understand that both the regulatory moat and the safety moat protecting US frontier AI are gone. And you have a clear framework for which stocks survive that collapse and which ones don't. But knowing which scenario wins the argument isn't the same as knowing what price is actually doing right now, or when this story becomes tradable. The conviction this builds is exactly what makes it dangerous to act on without a process for reading price structure first. Here's what that conviction also doesn't give you: The truth about the direction of price. It gives you conviction, and conviction matters. But price is what tells you whether your conviction is true or not. The measured move is a framework for understanding the direction of price. If you trade on conviction without that framework, you could be on the wrong side of a trade for days, weeks, or even months before price tells you what you could have known earlier. That framework is what I teach. The traders in my community don't trade their conviction. They know what price has to do to confirm the story, and where the trend fails if it doesn't. They use price to understand the direction to trade in. And when conviction and price disagree, they trade in the direction of price. That's a repeatable pattern. That's the process I teach every day at eminiaddict.com.